I think maybe we should start with the touch guitar, because I think a lot of people are going to ask why I'm learning touch guitar as opposed to standard guitar.
Yes.
And my reason is pretty simple. And the reason is that I found a touch guitar teacher. So the instrument kind of chose me. But I'm curious to hear how you started with this. I think we've spoken about this before, but yeah, tell me a little, how did you start playing touch guitar and why touch guitar?
Yeah, it's a long story because I'm old. So, but no. I was kind of like fascinated by the idea to have sort of like a layout of strings that's more like a grid, or like, for lack of a better word, I would have thought back then percussive also.
Yeah.
Using all 8 fingers to kind of like play notes on the fretboard, and like being able to sort of have this idea that it could be like an integrated thing where both hands become like almost like one big hand. So unlike on a piano where it's like left hand is like usually low notes and right hand is higher notes and stuff. So, but with a touch instrument with the strings on the fretboard, and like where each string can basically seen just like one string of chromatic notes, right? So it's basically several keyboards in one, you could say, in a way. And so I really liked that idea, and also just the physical aspect of hammering the finger onto the string was something that was appealing to me. And just in my imagination before even ever, having had an instrument in my hands.
Interesting.
So it was like in I think 1991 that I met Robert Fripp at a guitarcraft seminar, and I asked him about the Chapman stick, and he said he liked the idea very much, and we were like on the same wavelength there, and he said that I should just try it, and so there was one guy in guitarcraft back then called Trey Gunn, and he had a spare instrument, and I bought it from him. That was like early '93. I got it. And that's where it started. I put like all those dreams and ideas, and I had the instrument in my hand, and I realized, oh no, it just doesn't work the way that I was imagining it would work, and was really like a totally alien feel to it, which still appealed to me. But I also knew like either I have to make up my mind and really go for it and concentrate on this full time, or I can forget about it. That was kind of like obvious to me. And so back then there was no teaching. Well, no real teaching materials out there. Like people were always like trying to tell you what to play on the instrument, but nobody could really tell you how to play.
Right.
That became my life. My life's task to kind of like find out how this thing works.
Cool.
Yeah. And so then, I mean, to make a long story short, at some point I then realized, okay, after having played the instrument for over 10 years, almost 15 years, I think, I realized, okay, I have to build my own and make it a traditional guitar instrument with a really great traditional electric guitar builder in Austin, Texas, Ed Reynolds. And I spent 4 months with him building first 10 instruments. Like first we built a prototype, then we built 10 instruments, and that's how these instruments came about. And basically, they're just like super reduced, simple electric guitar, electric bass kind of instruments. What's special about it is the tuning, and this we will get into in detail. But it's tuned in fifths. So it means that the distance of pitches between the strings is like a whole step larger than on a regular guitar.
Right.
The main reason for that is, as far as I'm concerned, is that if you're using a fourth tuning, which has like a shorter, covers a shorter range, you can just kind of play all chromatic notes with one hand across the strings, which is very useful when playing regular guitar. But with a touch instrument where you want to bring both hands on the fretboard and you want them to integrate into one unit, the fourth tuning makes that very hard. But with the fifth tuning, it's like supernatural, because also we have 8 fingers, right? And 8 fingers are if you just put them side by side, cover 8 frets, which is 8 chromatic notes, which is a fifth interval.
Yeah.
So that means that the relationship of like first finger to fourth finger to pinky is a fifth on one string, and then you move over to the next string to the next note, which is like, for example, if you have a C here and a G here, then you have an A here. So you see you would actually move the hand up 2 frets to go from here to here. And the reason why that is, this is really what is kind of mind-boggling about this instrument. Like normally with instruments that require movement, you try to minimize the movement. Yeah. With a touch instrument, because the sound actually comes from that finger, you need to allow for movement. So any, and that's why the fourth tuning doesn't work so well. Any tuning that tries to kind of make everything available in a space of a position where you don't have to move, in the end makes it harder to play because you don't have enough space to accelerate the finger. Because the velocity is which makes the dynamics on this instrument. Like you can bring a finger down very slowly and you don't hear anything. The faster you bring it down, the louder the note gets. It's nothing to do with pressure or force in that sense, so it's the velocity. And the fifth tuning really is beautiful for that because it allows for this smooth movement along the strings as you play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and I suppose that gives you more range in a smaller space too?
Exactly, yes. So that means like within one hand you can very easily cover 2 octaves between first finger and pinky. Yeah. And so this instrument, like since it's tuned in fifth, not completely, right? We're gonna get to that, but it has I've even forgotten, like 5.5 octave range. Right? And so the lowest, like there are no open strings, but the lowest open string would be a B flat. So tritone below an E on a 4-string bass.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So but like,
well, yeah, so it's right 1/2 step lower than a B string on a 5-string bass.
So the B string would be in the we can't see that here right now, but would be the first fret, and then really the second fret is where I start thinking about what the notes are really. Then second fret on the lowest string is a C. So basically, since like the system of notation and the way that we think about music is very much based on the layout of the keyboard, also having like a C note as a reference on an instrument is perfect. Yeah. Because like the basic structure of diatonic scales, it kind of like then pops out very easily. And so really like the second fret on the lowest string is a C, and then from there we can very easily, and you'll see it's very easy to learn when the notes are.
Right, so C, G, D, A.
C, G,
or
D,
I guess it would be B flat and then F.
Yeah, but we're not even talking about open strings really. Right. Because like what we could do is we could talk about the 12th fret, and that's exactly though it would be B flat, F, C, G, D, A, and now comes C and D. Okay. So basically the first and the fourth string are the same, an octave apart. Okay. So D and D, and then you have a C here, which is like the 6th string. So the reason for this is you could say, basically you can't put more fifth on it because the pitch would get too high and the strings would break at this length of the string. But also what's so great about this, because it's basically it's an open tuning this way. So it's all notes. If we want to count from here, it would be notes from the F major.
Oh, cool.
So F major pentatonic.
Yeah.
So, but since I'm not, thinking about it in any particular position, let's say, I always just look where are the C notes, and then from the C notes, everything else is very easily accessible. Gotcha. And the cool thing about having these top 3 strings tuned in such ways that you can actually play closed voicings with one hand, which would otherwise be impossible with the 5th tuning. Okay. Yeah. Nice.
And what's the highest?
It's a D string.
Or
Well, and so it's because it's 24 frets, so it's D. So it's like the 22nd fret on a 24 fret guitar.
Okay.
E string.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it goes really. It basically has the guitar range and the bass,
That's amazing.
extended bass range even built into one instrument. And I actually see it more like overall. I see it as an instrument that sits right in between, like a baritone instrument that extends high and low.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
And what is the main difference or the main differences between the Chapman stick and touch guitar?
Yeah, I mean, the main difference is, first of all, like I used to say, that this instrument, the U8 or T8 in this example, has been built by me, by a player who comes from a background of wanting to have a tool that works for what I want to do. With the Chapman stick, because it is a great invention, and actually is an invention in the way that I see it. It still has kind of that vibe about it of an invention. So it's much less a tool that a professional musician would use than this, for example. Okay. And this is you can also see that. I mean, it's really revolutionary, the Chapman stick. I love it. I love the sound of it. But it's just like so reduced. It's just the stick,
right?
just the fretboard, no body. Kind of with the idea to even remove resonances, where I'm like more traditional and I want my instruments to actually be resonant.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean there are many differences also, like in the layout of the strings. The original layout of the Chapman stick has the bass strings in the middle, so it has two sides, also two outputs, which makes it more complicated for beginners. Like you have one side tuned in fifth and the other side tuned in fourth, which can really be too much. And that was one of the insights I had early on. Like I said, I started in '93, went to my first stick seminars back then, and I saw many people play and hitting a ceiling with their playing, even after a few days of spending time with the instrument. And that was shocking to me, because I was so in love with the idea, and with the sound, and with the dreams I had about what may be possible. Yeah. And that was just like very, very inspiring, and I really dove deep into uncoding or decoding. Sorry, like decoding the technique.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the more time I spend with it, the less I know. Or the more I know, the less I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally.
But at the same time, I think I have now come to a place where I can pass on the research data, let's say, in such a way that it will save people a decade or more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
And which we're going to see with you tackling it. What's so beautiful about it, the way that I'm going to teach it to you and to show everything to you, is that we're going to start out just with one note. And that's going to be the focus for a long time. Obviously, I think there should be like two parts. There will be like the purely technical, like learning the instrument part, and then there will be the music part as well. But on the technical side, we're going to look at you being able to produce a beautiful note and to learn where the notes are, and it will be more like linear playing on the drums more. Like
Great,
you play one drum at a time, and you learn how to travel from one drum to the other, and that's what we're gonna focus on first of all. And this occurred to me the other day when I thought about how would this be for you. There's a really, really, really immense difference here between striking a drum and striking a string here on this, is that you can't just hit a string and let go of it.
Right. Note length is important.
Note length is extremely important, and not only is the note length important because note length is important, it's also because you kind of have to consciously play the beginning and the end of the note.
Interesting. Yeah.
So it's really like striking a drum squared in a way. If you think about it, not just times two, because like you're sitting on the note, then you can do something with the note. Then in order to stop it, you still stay on the skin, on the string. right? So, and that's I think that's going to be very interesting for you, because you'll have to look at the end of the action as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's something I've never had to think about.
Yes, I know. Yeah. And it's fascinating, and because in that little detail of releasing the notes, of the playing the end of the note, that's where the beauty lies, and that's where the magic lies.
Yeah.
That's where like interesting things happen, where you play something at half speed, but you're actually practicing it at double speed, and other way around. Because like we have to also always consider the spaces between the end of a note and the beginning of the next note.
Yeah.
So by introducing like a what I call the release at the halfway point between two notes, you're basically already playing at twice the speed. And all you need to do is reduce the space between the end of the note and the beginning of the next note. And so it's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will fall in love with it.
Yeah, cool. I can't wait. So if you've got a year to teach somebody this instrument, what does the timeline look like, and what kind of things are we going to focus on?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, it is important that I will always go along with what you offer me, basically. Right?
Great.
Yeah. So the more time you can spend with it, the better.
Right.
I think you have a very, very good chance, even after 3 months, to kind of like feel comfortable. And after a year, I think you will be able, like this would be like my aim, you would be able to improvise on a drone, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't kind of focus on the idea of playing polyrhythmic stuff. That will be easy for you, for example. But kind of integrating the hands to improvise melodies, to come up with melodies intuitively, and kind of like really to dive into like what I call or believe to be the essence of music, right?
Yeah.
So not thinking, but unlocking the potential for intuitive movement, intuitive musical knowledge to kind of come through the instrument. That would be my aim. And the way that we're going to do that, we're going to spend a lot of time working on movements on the instrument, where it's not at the first part of the technique is not about playing specific pitches.
Yeah.
It's about, like, the way that I would describe it is like you have like each finger is a dancer on the stage, that is the fretboard, and you want to find a way to gracefully go to any place. And like, how do I practice to have the skill of movement to go to those places? I think that is absolutely necessary before actually tackling pitches.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's exactly how I learned drums. I mean, I had a very heavy focus on technique, because you need technique and the motions to be able to express musical ideas. Yeah, I mean, the music is the fun part, but you need some technique in place first.
Exactly. And you know, for musical instruments that have been around for a while, I mean, the drum kit, like 100 or more years, right? Yeah. And like with the touch instrument, the technique, kind of the idea to tap on a string, I think that's ancient, right? I mean, like, but the idea to kind of like make that, and that this is important for you to know, like obviously on a normal guitar, tapping would be an extended technique,
right?
But what we're going to do here is we're going to focus on the pure. And tapping is not even the right word. Like, that's where we could call it touch, right? It's a different idea. It's not something that's an extension of plucking and fretting.
Right.
You know, it's its own thing. And so we're going to focus on that so much that every other extended technique, which will be plucking or hammer-ons and pull-offs, these kind of things, or slides, they will become so easy for you because we'll have focused so deeply on getting the actual, you know, putting energy into the string and taking it out of the string.
Yeah.
We will have worked with that so much that anything else will be easy. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
And so, like, there's no timeline really. I think we'll have to see how it goes.
Of course.
There are extremely powerful exercises that I have come up. Like, the idea is always like to refine not only the technique, but to refine the exercises so that you can learn through the exercise.
Yeah.
So some things just can't be verbalized. I mean, we can talk about the velocity of the finger, right?
Yeah.
We can talk about it, but how can you actually experience or feel like the very slight difference in playing like a mezzo forte versus a forte note when you're playing 16th notes at 120 BPM? You can't really verbalize it. You have to practice it. You have to experience it physically for it to start making sense for your subconscious, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to do most of the time.
Cool.
And in parallel, I will coach you and help you and encourage you to work on your own musical ideas.
Awesome.
And then also, obviously, show you how to finger certain things that maybe you don't know yet how to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. And so what are some of the main challenges that you see in students in learning this instrument? Or what do you think will be the hardest thing for me?
The hardest thing for you, I think you already have avoided the hardest thing because you are a practicing musician. Like you know how to approach a musical instrument, also having like a certain kind of like freedom, acquired a certain kind of freedom on the drums. You are relaxed already when approaching a musical instrument.
Yeah.
So the biggest problem is that when I work with people who've already played bass guitar or guitar, that the two hands have a completely different approach or different kind of relationship, but also like they have been the body or the body part has been built up in a different way. So where the idea on a bass guitar is to hold down the string, to push it down, right? Which means you're actually not using you don't want to accelerate the finger. You don't need to. You just push it down in time.
Right.
You don't have to accelerate the finger. So it's much harder for a lot of people to kind of like, I understand that this hand should be as floaty as the right hand. The right hand is easy for most people, coming from keyboards, coming from electric guitar or bass. The right hand is much quicker to learn to do it correctly.
Yeah.
And so that's like the major problem that people have. Also, kind of, this instrument is being mistaken as just being a guitar or a bass, which it's not if you're playing with a touch technique. The touch technique has nothing to do with guitar or bass technique, has nothing to do with piano playing even.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is something, again, like I can use these words, but you will have to experience it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like you see, like we have to, use that one finger to put the energy into the string. And this is very different from a guitar where you just have the finger here and you do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
But really, the challenge would be also the posture. Again, which I believe you won't have a problem with because you're already holding sticks like this, and this is exactly the position we need here. You bring it, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you will see.
Yeah.
It's more, when I say it's exactly the same thing, I'm not saying it's necessarily physically exactly the same thing, but the attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the attitude. Like you're holding the stick, but at the same time, it's loose.
Yes.
It's both.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's that equilibrium that we're looking for, and like the necessary tension, let's say.
Yeah.
Right. To play the notes, to have control over over our fingers. Also, then like like this idea that we want to introduce like independence. Like we want the fingers to move independently and stuff.
Yeah.
And you'll see it's going to be great.
Cool. Yeah. and I'm curious too on the musical side of things, like after a few months, let's say the technique is coming along okay, and I have no idea what to expect as far as developing my melodic and harmonic vocabulary. And I feel like I'm coming from maybe a unique position compared to a lot of students, since I understand the theory already. Like I know, how to analyze the harmony of a tune or
Yeah.
the melody. And
Yeah.
and you know, I've taken piano lessons and played mallet percussion.
Yeah.
But you were speaking about this intuitive ability to form a melody while you're improvising, and that's something I completely don't have.
Yeah, it will. This is the cool thing. I have had 27 years of study with this instrument, and my approach always was to, like I said at the beginning, I consider it just like a stage for the fingers to move. But then, what you're starting to do is you're starting to kind of like measure the distances, right? Like, you know, like moving up that much gives me that interval. And so even without verbalizing what that interval is, your ear and like your like holistically, your body and your mind will learn to understand where the sounds sit, right? Or lie or whatever. And so what is going to happen is that we will do a lot of free playing also, where it's not about actually being sure what we play, where it's just about allowing like the movement to make the sound and to decide like where the next note is. So we're not going to judge and going to say you need to play notes from the C major scale.
Right.
No,
Right.
I'm just going to ask you now move your left hand quickly up.
Yeah.
No matter which string you hit, just move it, or use your pinky to play a note on the adjacent string, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like we're going to completely look at the instrument from the intuitive movement, like I sometimes call a gestural approach, which I think is very, very important when wanting to develop an improvisational playing on every instrument, I believe. Yeah. And on top of that, we're going to like the music theory that you know, we'll be applying it to fingering systems, and into one fingering system in particular that we're going to use as I call it a bracket, like kind of like it's not a box because it doesn't look like a box, looks more like a bracket, and within this bracket we're going to explore playing the triads, for example. So you're going to, for example, you're going to play like a descending C major scale, 2 octaves, and then on the way back up, you're going to play the C major triad arpeggio. Yeah. And that way you will always learn like the like you will basically learn the shapes inside out.
Yeah.
Right. So you'll have an outside view and you will have an inside view, and this would go into too much detail, but it will blow your mind. There are these symmetries here, and like one symmetry in particular that really makes this instrument absolutely unique. There's no other instrument that has like this total symmetry of left and right hand. For example, where you can simply flip the fingering around between the hands and still play the exact same thing.
Interesting.
And you it will be wonderful for you. I know.
Okay.
Like you have an experiment with the you know, these different kinds of like playing. Like you did the hi-hat coordination, and you also had the hi-hat on the other side. You played like left-handed and stuff. And so in basically all these things, they come together in this instrument, and it's
Cool.
Yeah.
Man, it's so exciting. I'm trying to think. Any other questions? I don't know. Is there anything that comes to mind for you? Anything I should be thinking about, or?
Yes. For example, you said that maybe after a couple months or so of technique, you can start playing music. No, I will, ask you to try around and to play music right away. It's just that I want you to, like say compartmentalize, right? Like there's practice and there's play. Yeah, but the playing part should be and the exploration and kind of coming up. You'll be after just the first lesson, you will come up with your own bass parts and stuff. I know you will. Yeah,
Totally.
And it's
Yeah.
and you know, any rhythmic ideas you have and like things you can translate them onto the instrument very easily, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
But having said that, so like most people that play instruments like this, they kind of like play the notes that are under the fingers when the fingers are in a position.
Yeah.
Okay. So and playing it that way is very easy. That's also why it's very easy to make something that sounds impressive with this instrument, even without even knowing how to play it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was like what inspired me to actually go beyond that, because like I said, the ceiling is so low. Like you can do these interesting things immediately, but then trying to go beyond that takes years of practice.
Right. Right.
So, and that's why I was interested. Like, how can I put this into a method that will people kind of like go beyond right away and not just being stuck in that in the easy part that sounds cool.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that being a place where a lot of people hit a plateau.
Yeah, and it's as I said, it was shocking actually. Like the first few years, I was like, and nobody really wanted to give me information, and I actually asked people, how do I play dynamically here? So where do the dynamics even come from? And it's ridiculous to say that, but I was the first person to kind of like say that the dynamics, you know, comes from the velocity, so the amount of acceleration that you put into your finger. Yeah. And like nobody has ever said that before, and I still hear people say that this is mainly a staccato instrument. It's total bullshit. It's only a staccato instrument if you don't leave your finger on the string. Okay, and so for me, having my fingers on the strings has become the default. So what I call the released position is the fingertips are in touch with the strings at all times. Also makes sense. I mean, it's an electrically amplified instrument with magnetic pickups. So if you're not using a volume pedal, right, the strings actually do vibrate. It is alive, you know. And you'll find also that even though there's a damper here in the first fret, the damper is not perfect. You will from the very beginning be required to focus in on the sounds that you don't want, and then to learn how to control those as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So
cool. Yeah, and I mean, I noticed. I held the guitar for 5 minutes the other day, and I noticed there's a lot of resonance or a lot of sustain.
Yes. Yeah.
So the idea that it's a staccato instrument intuitively doesn't make sense already.
No, and this is really like if you're thinking about the Chapman stick, for example, where the idea was to kind of remove those resonances. Yeah. It's true that instrument just vibrates very lightly, let's say. But here with this instrument, like I'm holding, and I mean you can try this. So if you put your finger here and just hold it, you can actually feel the vibration of the instrument like this. So now try also to make contact with your thumb with the side of the fretboard as you do this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it. Yeah.
You can feel it. You can immediately feel it, and this is like, it's kind of amazing because it is like this feedback loop that you would. You know, you actually have a physical feedback loop. You have that with any regular guitar as well. But people don't talk about that much because you have these two systems. You have like sound like putting energy into the strings here and fretting on the other side, right? Yeah. Most of the time. Right. So, but here, since it's all within that one finger, you have to have that feedback loop within the hand, and that's what we use our thumbs for. So the thumbs are always in touch with the instrument, sort of like an antagonist to the fingers, and they kind of, the thumb mirrors whatever happens on top in terms of like, am I holding a note? I'm holding a note, then the thumb is more engaged, as if I'm in a release position and they're just sliding on the string, right? Yeah. And so it's a really beautiful, very, very delicate, but also very immediate way of experiencing vibration.
Yeah, cool.
you know, and then, I mean, you can imagine. So, for example, like just playing one note with a thumb here on the side, and now my thumb is measuring the frequency in a way, right?
Yeah.
I can feel it here, and then I move this up 2 frets, and now I feel that the vibration is slightly faster. And it's amazing because you're so close to the actual physical reality of what's happening, that even though the expression itself is much more limited than on a regular guitar, where you can really dig in and do all sorts of things with a string, but within this more limited range of expression, there's so much resolution that it's just fascinating.
It is. I feel that.
Yeah, there you go. Like you have.
Oh yeah, I'm on the wrong
yes.
side of the.
Yes.
And yeah, it's ringing forever. I mean, that's way more than a regular guitar.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I can feel the difference yet, but yeah.
Yeah, just try to go up like a minor third. Go there. You can feel that it's faster there.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it's more obvious with the.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'm going to show you that. You see, like the end of the note, that is the difficult part. It's more difficult than the beginning of the note.
Also,
you see, you shouldn't. If you're above the fret, then you get kind of like a muted note. You need to be right behind.
Okay.
You see that?
Yeah.
And then you get also less buzz. The buzz is kind of like part of the instrument in a way. Like the buzz that we're hearing here acoustically, you won't necessarily hear in the magnetic or via the magnetic pickups.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's far from being a perfect instrument, just in the sense that we're used to from synthesizers or keyboards, where everything is kind of like pre-controlled.
Yeah.
Right. You lift the, like just with an acoustic piano, there's the hammer, there's the whole mechanism in between you and the string.
Yeah.
Right. And here you're like kind of like directly on the note, and you have all the responsibility for the note.
And well, that also gives you more expression.
Yes. And I certainly believe that a big part of why people also like the way that I play in live performances mainly is because I am capable of putting some sort of creative or emotional intention, let's say, into a note that really gets amplified a lot in a rock show, like especially if you're using like a high gain kind of lead sound, and which like dynamically may be very flat, but you will hear every single like quiver of the finger translate into slight pitch changes, which kind of create this emotional wave. It's just a wonderful thing.
One of the things that's cool about this instrument, I mean, I suppose a standard guitar too, but even more so this, is the ability to play a whole song by yourself.
Yes.
Which is something you cannot do on the drums. Or you can, but it's not the same, you know?
And that will be, and that should be, let's say, like maybe your master thesis.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I see like learn a couple pieces, solo pieces.
Yeah. How much progress do you think I can make in a year?
I think you can make a lot of progress in 1 year.
Yeah.
Because it really is very much about the repeats you're putting in.
Yeah.
So once you're putting in the repeats with the right instruction, which I will give you, you will develop a good contact with the instrument. That's really the most important thing, to be able to kind of like feel like you're connected with the instrument. And I mean, this is like, it's also important. I will teach you right away to not look at the fretboard, meaning like not to use your visual system to take the measurements, but to take the tactile information and your hearing to provide you with the information you need to find the notes.
Yeah.
You can. I'm sure you will be able to play maybe a couple solo pieces, and I would like you to be able to improvise on a drone, not necessarily chord changes. We'll see, maybe.
Yeah.
But on a drone, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And and yeah, I think you will become one of the better players in a year. I'm 100% sure that is possible. I've recently, like last summer, there's like this new guy, Jonas, turned up, young man, like early 20s, and he has learned so quickly that what I'm saying to you now, I know it can be true.
Cool. Well, that's a great place to end it here. That's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.